Hello and welcome to Pocket Rock. In today's video I'm going to continue my series ranking each of the tracks from the Paul McCartney solo albums. I've so far covered McCartney all the way through to Band on the Run, which means this is the 6th entry in his solo catalogue, and it's Venus and Mars from Wings. At this point in his career, Paul had regained a significant amount of critical and commercial success thanks to Band on the Run. As a result, we are reverting back to the band's original name, which is just simply Wings, and we are ditching the Paul McCartney and part of the title that covered Red Rose Speedway and Band on the Run. I first got into this album in the late 80s when I picked it up from my local music library, and I'll say up front, I think this is a great album. It's in my top 10 McCartney albums of all time. Before I dive into that, I'd just like to remind you to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. So, starting at number 12, I have placed the Crossroads theme. Crossroads was a soap opera in the United Kingdom that was a byword for bad acting, bad sets, bad scripts, shonky titles, and all that was rubbish about British television. And as a result, the inclusion of the Crossroads theme at the end of this fine record suffuses the record with a cheesy quality that it really doesn't deserve. It drags the album down a little bit, and even now, hearing what is actually a pretty interesting piece of music, fantastically well played by the band, especially the guitar part, which I'm assuming is Jimmy McCulloch, just means that you're left with a taste of crappiness that it doesn't warrant, because it's a much better album than that association would have you believe. Apparently, this version was sometimes used on the TV show itself when there'd been a particularly dramatic cliffhanger. But something's got to come in number 12, and Crossroads is the prime candidate for it. At number 11, I have placed Love in Song. Now, this song has quite a lot of admirers, but for me, it's just a bit weedy. I mean, I like parts of it. I like the chorus, the Happiness in the Homeland part, but the rest of the song just falls flat. Now, my school friend and I used to debate the merits of this particular album, the songs on it, and this was one that he particularly loved that I just didn't, and I would disagree with him about Love in Song being a great song. Obviously, I placed it at number 11 on my ranking of the tracks of this album. At number 10, I've placed Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People. Now, this is a good blend of two songs that were apparently actually written as one song. So this isn't like Abbey Road stitching together different bits and pieces to turn something into a whole. This is something that was specifically written as a piecework. There's nothing especially wrong with it. There's nothing especially great about it. Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People would have been a perfectly fine album closer without the follow-on of Crossroads. So on to number 9, and I've placed here a song that many people put right up at the top of their rankings of this album, and it's Letting Go. Now, this song has so much going for it. There's fantastic horns. The lyrics are pretty smart and clever. The guitar work is great. There's a driving rhythm, and yet it's slow, it's ponderous, it's faintly boring. There was a time when I used to really like and admire Letting Go. We're not currently in those times for me. I don't massively care for, but I do appreciate the component parts. Number 9, Letting Go. At number 8, I have placed Spirits of Ancient Egypt. This is a quandary of a song. It's got weird lyrics like Pound of Love and Put It in the Stew. It's Denny Lane singing it, which I have absolutely nothing against, but I must admit, probably would have been better with Paul's voice. It's a perfectly fine middling quality track for this album. My favourite bit of the song is the when you finish doing that part of the song. I think it's really terrific. There is a version of this song that I really do like, but I'm going to save talking about that until the very end of this video. But at the moment, Spirits of Ancient Egypt I placed at number 8. So up to this point, everything has been perfectly fine. There's actually nothing wrong with any of the 5 tracks I've already mentioned. From here on in, we're getting into what is good to great and beyond. And at number 7, I've placed Rock Show. Now, you can't have Rock Show without the introductory song, which I'll come to later. But this is a track that is clearly designed for taking out on the road. References to Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin, and it's daft, it's silly, it's musically really fun. I'm not a fan of songs with codas. I don't particularly like the coda part of Tomorrow from Wildlife. I don't particularly like the coda part of Hello Goodbye by the Beatles. But in the case of Rock Show, there's an exception. And I think that when they finish the song and then they go into the piano vamp, it just works. For me, this was also the true introduction to the powerhouse guitar work of Jimmy McCulloch. Now, I know he'd already played on Junior's Farm, and so we'd already heard the great solo that that song's got. But I came to McCartney through the compilation All the Best. And the songs that feature Jimmy from that record are not exactly what you would call rocking. It's Listen to What the Man Said, Let Him In, Silly Love Songs, and I Believe, With a Little Luck. So this was my introduction to Jimmy McCulloch, and it's barnstorming. At number 6, I have placed Venus and Mars. Now, back in my review of McCartney, I said that The Lovely Linda was a song I wanted to hear more of. Likewise, I wanted to hear more of the song No Words from Band on the Run, and Venus and Mars is in that mould. I love the opening of the album. I think it is a perfect opening track. And thankfully, there's a remedy for the fact I want more. We get it again on side 2 with another 2 verses. I would love there to be a combined Venus and Mars. It's such a shame that that was never, ever taken forward by anybody, as far as I'm aware, including anyone who's covered Paul. I'd like to hear Venus and Mars done as 3 separate verses. Now, I know the lyrics on the second lot are a bit shonkier than the first, but it's a beautiful, beautiful tune. And I really like the title track, Venus and Mars, and the Venus and Mars reprise. At number 5, I've placed Call Me Back Again. Now, this was right down the bottom of my rankings when I first listened to the album. I found it boring and forgettable. My view has significantly changed. I've got more into harder rock as I've gotten older, and that possibly reflects that this is one of the harder-edged Paul songs in his entire canon. I like the theory that this song is about him trying to get in contact with John again, saying, I've been calling you, why don't you call me back again? His vocal is raw, bordering on John style as it happens. Jimmy's guitar is great on this song, and I think this is a highlight of the Venus and Mars album. Call Me Back Again at number 5. At number 4, I have placed Magneto and Titanium Man, a song that matches its subject matter perfectly. So we have Marvel characters. So this was based on Paul's love of some early Marvel comics. I was more of a DC boy when I was a kid. I can't help now picturing Sir Ian McKellen whenever this song comes on, given his absolutely inhabiting portrayal of Magneto from the X-Men movies that came out at the turn of the millennium. But Magneto and Titanium Man was a great rock song and just pure fun. Magneto and Titanium Man. At number 3, I have placed one of Paul's greatest ever vaudevillian style songs, and this is the one that my schoolmate really hated. Track 4 from the album, it's You Gave Me the Answer. I think this is sublime. The lyric sheet on this sleeve taught me the word terpsichore, which means a dance instrumental. And Paul has a track record of these kind of songs. So we got Honey Pie. You can even include things like his cover version of Till There Was You from With the Beatles, through things like You Gave Me the Answer, his album of standards from 2011, Kisses on the Bottom. So he's always had an interest in this style of music. It's the things he grew up with, but then he's turned his hand to create his own inclusions into those canon. This is such a early 20s style, Great American Songbooky type of song, and he delivers it really well. I love You Gave Me the Answer. I like the vocal effects on it. I think it's an absolutely terrific song. And number 2 is the hit single Listen to What the Man Said. This is pop genius. There is no one, in my view, as good at writing simple pop song melodies as Paul McCartney. And this is in the vein of Live and Let Die, which when you look at it, it's got very little in the way of lyrics. Listen to What the Man Said does not have a vast amount of lyrics. I wish it had a third verse. And we got a little bit more to the song, but what we have got is so good. And there's so much been said about that brilliant saxophone solo that was done on the spot. It was a one take, first take. Listen to What the Man Said hit number 5 in the UK, but was a number 1 smash in the US. It's an absolutely wonderful pop song. I've placed it at number 2, which can only mean that the song I placed at number 1 is a song Paul didn't write. It's Medicine Jar, written by Jimmy McCulloch and Colin Allen. I think Medicine Jar is phenomenal. It is easily the best thing on Venus and Mars, and that's a hard thing to say as a proper McCartney fanboy, that I would consider the best thing on here to be something he didn't write. But Medicine Jar, I have always liked it. I would genuinely pick Medicine Jar over anything on Go Speedway. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant song, and the highlight of Venus and Mars. So I said I'd come back to something about this album that perhaps means that it doesn't hold as high in my affections as it might have done, given that the songwriting on here was really, really good. And that's Wings Over America. Of the 12 songs on here, if you consider Venus and Mars and the reprise to be one, 9 tracks are available in a live version on Wings Over America, and each one, the live version, kicks the behind of the studio version. And interestingly enough, the 3 songs that I've placed at the bottom of my ranking, which are Crossroads, Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People, and Loving Song, were not performed live. This was an album that, after the success of Band on the Run, was clearly designed to be about taking the show on the road. Rock Show proves it. And when they did take it on the road, it kicked ass. Venus and Mars is like I say, it's a great Paul McCartney album. And were it not for the live versions, I think it would probably be top 5. But those live versions just outstrip it. So if you're looking to get a copy of Venus and Mars, I wouldn't say don't, but I would say you're better served by Wings Over America, because you'll also get a whole load of other great music as well, but you'll get all of the 9 better tracks, all done in better versions. So that concludes my ranking of all 12 tracks of Venus and Mars by Wings. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Where would you rank this if you are familiar with the album? Do you agree with me about the studio versions being not as good as the live versions? Or do you prefer the studio? Remember to like the video and hit that little thumbs up. It really helps in Google searches. Subscribe, or even better, if you have already subscribed, go and find someone else and make them subscribe. And lastly, hit the bell for notifications of future content. After Venus and Mars, the next one is, of course, Wings at the Speed of Sound. Next video will be up in a week's time, but until then, thanks for watching.